Welcome back, America. Hugh Hewitt in the ReliefFactor.com studio. It's Mondays with Mike. Mike Allen of Axios AM is with me as he is most Mondays. Good morning, Mike. I know you won't be bringing up the Browns' little bit surprising loss yesterday.
Just try and stick with good news, Hugh. So around the world, Leader McConnell is being quoted from the Hugh Hewitt show in the Associated Press talking about how he's waiting for signals from the White House to decide what to do on guns. Told Hugh Hewitt, there it is for a billion people.
There you go. I like that. Now, I also like an Axios AM. You've got, I didn't see the CBS News poll yesterday, of 16,525 registered voters in 18 states with early primaries and caucuses. Elizabeth Warren, 26%. Joe Biden, 25%. Bernie Sanders, 19%. Kamala Harris, 8%. It really looks like a three-person race from this poll, Mike Allen.
It sure does, and they said it in an interesting way. I kind of knew this, but I hadn't seen it said exactly this way. Warren rising, but Biden isn't falling.
And what do you draw from that?
Yeah, so she's taking it from others in the field, despite the fact that Vice President Biden can't seem to buy a good news cycle from Blue Check Twitter or from the MSN. Is very sturdy in these polls. Online, I was just taking a beating. We have fascinating exclusive data from NewsWhip, the social analytics company. We're calling it Biden's big bad news problem. You listen to this. Of the 100 we looked at the 100 stories about Biden that got the most traction over the last 3 weeks. So shares, likes, comments. 24 of the top 25 were negative. And what's fascinating about those is very few of them are about the same topic. So he's just getting it from left, right, and center, but it's not showing up in polls.
You know, I am reminded of the cycle in 2004 when Howard Dean got off to his fast start and then faded completely with John Kerry, the reliable, dependable John Kerry, coming back, which is sort of a repeat of the 2012 cycle where John Kane was pronounced DOA, picking up his own bags at the carousel in New Hampshire and walking around the Granite State. And, of course, he went on to become the nominee. Joe Biden is not held in high regard by the center-right media, but we can't overlook the fact that he's got this rock-solid affability, and no matter what happens, it's not going to move because a lot of these early primary voters are going to be not particularly engaged voters. They're going to show up, but they're not going to be following the day-to-day, and they're going to see Biden and vote for him, Mike Allen.
Right.
I want to switch to number one in Axios this morning because I was at the wedding of Guy Benson and Adam on Saturday, and it's a very young group, right? And so Brad Thor and I are about the oldest people there. Brad and I are using Twitter. All the young people are using Instagram. And your lead story is about fake news worries for Instagram, which I haven't seen written up anywhere else. Tell us about this.
Yeah, no, thank you, Hugh. And I like that personal experience that you had. Alexi McCammett is up on Axios this morning with the look at this new fake news magnet. Why Instagram? So in 2016, it was Facebook that got all the attention for being the avenue for Russian efforts to influence the election. Now, increasingly, disinformation, misinformation, fake news is being spread through images and memes. So, of course, that's Instagram country. And as you just pointed out, you're more likely to reach a younger audience. Why does this matter? Because it's images rather than text. It's harder for the big platforms to police these and take them down and subject them to all these new policies and scrutiny that they've put in place ahead of 2020.
Moreover, Instagram doesn't go viral because the images go away, and therefore it's a fleeting attack on perception, but it doesn't, if it's fake, it's a fleeting attack on perception, but it doesn't stick around. Does the story say whether or not the impact of Instagram is anywhere like the impact of a viral tweet or a viral Facebook posting?
Yeah, and of course, Snapchat goes away, Instagram stays around, but doesn't have the same viral effects because of the way we follow each other and like on there. But one thing that investigators are doing to try to keep up with this, to catch these fake accounts early, one thing they're looking for is accounts that seem suspicious, that maybe seem like they're a bot, that seem like they're a proxy for something else. A very common pattern is they'll start feeding us junk. So it could be celebrity news, it could be sports news. The idea is they get following, get juice online, and then closer to the election, switch to politics. That's one of the tricks that now the platforms are watching for.
Interesting. Now I want to switch over to Mike Pompeo doing the full Ginsburg yesterday. It's not as uncommon as it was when William Ginsburg, Monica Lewinsky's lawyer, pulled it off during the blue dress thing. But yesterday, Mike Pompeo was out there on all 5 shows explaining why the invitation to the Taliban had been extended and then withdrawn. At the end of it, Chuck Todd asked him this, which I want to play again. It is cut number 16, and then get Mike Allen on the other side of it to talk me through whether or not the non-denial denial is actually a denial of denying. Cut number 16.
Domestic political note: on Friday, you were in your home state of Kansas. How come nobody believes your denials about your interest in that Senate race?
Because that's a pretty darn cynical town, Chuck. I think there's no better reason than that.
So, okay, you could do the Sherman-esque deal. You could say, if nominated, I will not serve, all of that business. You have not done that. Why?
I've been pretty clear, Chuck. I think it's unambiguous. Others want to speculate about my future a lot more than I do. As you could see from today, I'm incredibly focused on what I'm doing. It's not just Hong Kong and Afghanistan. We've got opportunities all across the world. That's what I'm focused on, and I intend to continue to do that. So as long as President Trump asks me to be a Secretary of State, this is what I intend to do.
You will not be on a ballot in November of 2020?
This is what I'm going to do.
You will not be on a ballot?
As long as President Trump wants me to be a Secretary of State, you're going to have to have me on your show.
Well, Mr. Secretary, it sounds like if you won't say you won't be on a ballot in November 2020, the Kansas Senate questions don't go away.
They're going to go away. The clock continues to run. I think the American people should know their Secretary of State thinks about one thing and one thing only: protecting America's national security interests and trying to deliver diplomacy every place I go.
Well, obviously.
So, Mike Allen, how do you read that?
Well, of course, he's considering it, and it's not denying. But here's the point: reporters have to ask those questions. But it's silly, right? Because even if they do take the Sherman-esque statement, circumstances change, and they'll just do what they want. Everybody knows how Sherman-esque Senator Obama was on Meet the Press, right before he announced. The other day in our Slack channel at work, somebody surfaced a comment that Beto O'Rourke made right before the election that he wasn't going to run for president. So who cares? We have to ask, and we have to report, and we have to show what they're up to. And it's a fact that there's machinery in action in Kansas, and he'd be a great candidate.
The primary is not till August of next year. I don't know when the filing deadline is. I'll bet you it's June. But in my assessment,
what's the Hugh Hewitt prediction?
It's up to Donald Trump. And if I think the way I read this, if the president decides he wants a surefire winner in Kansas, he asks his Secretary of State to run because he wants to keep the Senate red. And the Secretary of State says, okay, and it's completely consistent with everything he said. And if he doesn't want him to run and wants him to stay as Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo will stay. That's how I view it. Let me go.
You're right.
Yeah, I just think and the president may want, and Mitch McConnell may, invey and persuade the president to ask the Secretary of State. I know that Pompeo loves his job. Now, I believe that the big story of the morning that is unfolding as we see here is actually across the sea in the United Kingdom. Boris Johnson is in Ireland at this moment, talking with the Irish Prime Minister about what will happen to the border after the hard Brexit. But I played Dominic Raab yesterday, and every sign points to the fact that Boris Johnson is not going to change his point of view. This new law is easily avoided without being broken, in my view. He could send a letter requesting an extension and say, by the way, if you give me this extension, I'm taking back the $39 billion. How much is Axios focused on what, along with Hong Kong, are the most important stories in the world, the story of what is going on in Great Britain?
Yeah, and very interesting connect the dot story AP did, pointing out populism doesn't always win, pointing out that both in Italy and Britain now, we have populist superstars who are on the back foot, as the Brits would say.
You mean Boris is on the back foot? Yeah, I think he's going to get on the front foot. And I got to play. This might be breaking news to Mike Allen. I very rarely get to break news to Mike Allen. Ringo Starr on the BBC yesterday, Mike, said this, cut number 11.
The people voted, and, they have to get on with it. And suddenly it's like, oh, well, we don't like that vote. And what do you mean you don't like that vote? You had the vote. This is what won. Let's get on with it.
Would you have voted that way?
I would have voted for Brexit, yes. I would have voted to get out. But don't tell Bob Geldof.
Why did you vote that way, Ringo?
Well, because I think it's a great move. I think, to be in control of your own country is a good move.
Oh, Mike Allen, had you missed that? It's not in Axios AM.
Hugh, you scooped me. So thank you for sharing that with your listeners and me. That's why I listen to you here. You never know what you're going to hear or learn.
Ringo Starr. So they're saying if the Beatles could make it without the European Union, the UK can go forward from here. It's a pretty persuasive argument, don't you think?
Hugh, if Ringo Starr says it, he's going to get a big audience.
It's going to get a big audience. Mike Allen, always a pleasure. Monday mornings with Mike. Go sign up for Axios AM over at Axios.com. Get the morning news download every single morning. I love Ringo Starr doing that.